Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corn Productions here to talk about The X-Files, Season 1, Episode 11, titled Eve. The episode's description reads as follows. Mulder and Scully search for two missing girls who disappeared after their fathers were murdered in identical fashion. The episode was written by Kenneth Biller, and I recognize him from being a writer and producer on Star Trek Voyager. He also worked on Smallville. This is his one and only effort on this series. His writing partner for this episode is Chris Picanto. This is also a solo effort for him, but he wrote Species 2, created First Wave, as well as Narcos and Godfather of Harlem, MGM Plus show, which I've been meaning to check out as it's one of the only other shows on MGM Plus, other than From, which is a show that I actually cover on this channel with my partner Stacy. The episode was directed by Fred Gerber. This is his only effort on the series, but he has 75 directorial stints, including Briscoe County Jr., and 3 episodes of House MD. The episode originally aired on December 10th, 1993. Before going any further, I'll tell you a couple of things. One, this is not a perfect podcast. If you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go and check it out, and then come back and give me a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on one of the platforms that this podcast is now available on, please follow and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to my channel. Well, this is another solid effort from the series, second one in a row, in fact. I think the next episode after this one is going to end the streak. That is Fire, which doesn't have a great reputation among the fans. This one, however, does. It's a fun episode to watch. Mary-Kate Olsen and Ashley Olsen were briefly considered to play the two evil twins. However, stricter U.S. child labor laws precluded the casting of Americans in the role, so they cast twins from the Vancouver, BC, Canada filming area instead. And honestly, I'm pretty confident that's for the best. I don't see them pulling off this role all that well, and their presence would have been really distracting. The kids that ultimately ended up playing them, Sabrina and Erica Krebins, weren't the greatest young actresses ever, but they pulled off sufficiently creepy performances in a way I don't quite see the Olsen twins really managing to pull off at the age that they would have been at this time, which I believe was around 7 years old. This was their last role for both of them. The only other project they appeared in was before this one, and that was titled Yes, Virginia, There Is a Santa Claus, which rather amusingly also featured the late Ed Asner, who appeared in an X-Files episode I plan to talk about during a Christmas season, called The Ghosts Who Stole Christmas. Also featured in that movie was Richard Thomas, who starred in the It miniseries, and Catherine Isabel, who starred in Freddy vs. Jason. She is actually pretty much the same age as me, and rather cute at that. I've tried to look into what the actresses that played the Eve sisters are doing now, but I found nothing on them other than the fact that one is married, and they both made an appearance at the 2018 X-Files convention. The characters of Tina and Cindy were named after the wives of Glenn Morgan and James Wong, who wrote the original script prior to filming. Chris Carter said in the X-Files official Season 1 book and in Season 1 DVD extras that Erica's character name was in honor of Glenn Morgan's first wife, Cindy, but in real life, her mother is also called Cindy. The episode begins with a couple who are concerned when they see a kid, Tina, played by Sabrina Krebins, hanging out outside. The concerned couple asks Tina what she's doing out there and where her dad is. According to her, her dad needs some alone time. My best guess is this is Ted, played by David Kirby, who has 8 acting credits, and after this episode, he wouldn't act again for 6 years. And then after that, there's an 18-year gap between that and his next acting credit in 2017. That year, he would appear in Handmaid's Tale, and most recently was in a Star Trek Strange New Worlds episode. His wife Donna is played by Tina Gilbertson. She only has 3 credits and nothing since 1995. Ted thinks that alone time is over and goes to seek out Tina's dad. He finds him on a swing facing away from them. He's unresponsive to their calls, and as he soon finds out, he's a very unhealthy gray color with some marks on his neck. He is very, very dead. Tina screams, and we go to our credits, and that's a very effective cold open. The dead Joel is uncredited in the episode, but is played by Finn Michaels. He's in 5 episodes of this series. Obviously, none of them were reprised of this role because this character is very much dead. All 5 of them are totally different characters, 12 acting credits in total, mostly acting in genre series. We cut to Mulder's office. Scully is reading the report of the dead character's death. It was death by hypovolemia, 75% blood loss. And I'm not sure who's giving the rundown to whom here. I don't know if it's Scully telling Mulder about the case or vice versa. But Mulder says, "You could say the man was running on empty." Oh, are we doing dad jokes? Well, I got one for you, Mulder. You could say he was dead on his feet. Okay. So, he was actually dead sitting on a swing. So my joke doesn't fully work, but his feet were touching the ground, so maybe it counts anyway. There was no evidence at the crime scene. The kids didn't see anything, or the kid, rather, didn't see anything. But there were puncture wounds on his neck. Mulder thinks it was like cow mutilations and exsanguination. Or I can't even pronounce that word, but exsanguination? Close enough. What happened to the cow is the same thing that happened to the guy in Greenwich, Connecticut, which, hey, by the way, is my neck of the woods. Though I'm not actually in Greenwich very often. It's kind of a rich area. Scully asks, how many would stay still for a bloodletting? And that's a very good question. And apparently, there was traces of digitalis in his system, which could act as a paralytic drug. Okay, that's fine. That would stop him from moving. But where exactly did all that blood go? Did they put it in a jar or something? Mulder naturally thinks this is UFO related. But not this week, Mulder. They go and talk to Tina, who's now in foster care. She goes on to describe red lightning and what sounds like an alien abduction, even going as far as to say the men in the clouds wanted to exsanguinate. Once again, I'm not sure I'm saying the word right. But yeah, they wanted to bloodlet her father using that exact word. And I'm very curious as to how she would know to tell Mulder this very specific lie. And I'm not sure that's really even covered within the episode itself. Scully gets a call, and apparently something like this happened somewhere else. And apparently that somewhere else is California. Okay, how much time has elapsed here? Because they went from Connecticut to clear across the country to California. For that matter, do they even need to be there for this? Couldn't they have had this information faxed over to them? These identical murders were done at the exact same time, and we are in the backyard. We haven't actually talked to the family yet, which is awfully convenient because if we did, we would notice the kids look awfully darn similar. It's the same death, same puncture wounds, same poison. Mulder's still on his UFO theory. Scully thinks nothing other than his leading questions to Tina substantiates that. And yeah, I agree. Mulder's questions to Tina were, in fact, leading. But not so leading that it would give Mulder the answer that she gave. And for that matter, how does an 8-year-old girl, even know what exsanguinate? But how does she even know what that means at that age? The family isn't back till tomorrow, and Mulder's willing to bet that the daughter will remember red lightning when they do finally talk to her. Meanwhile, Tina, late at night, is sleeping when she hears a noise. She tries to block the door, but that doesn't work out so well. She soon finds herself kidnapped by an unseen assailant. Mulder and Scully visit the Reardon family again. They have gotten wind of Tina being abducted, and Mulder thinks they weren't looking in the right direction, pointing at the clouds. They knock on the Reardon door, and they are shocked, I say shocked, when they see a girl who looks like Tina, but no, her name is Cindy. Scully asks if Cindy lives there, and she responds with a sarcastic, "Ever since I was born, 8 years ago." Ordinarily, I'd chalk up a line like that coming from a kid down to some bad writing, but they continue to talk like that throughout the entire episode, and is an effective way to demonstrate that these are not normal little girls. We see some cartoon footage that Cindy is watching, and she switches from that to something talking about politics, which is kind of unusual for a kid. The footage shown on the television, Eek the Cat, following the news segment, is the same footage used in Millennium, an episode titled Human Essence in 1998, and that of course is Chris Carter's other series. The agents talk to her mother. Mrs. Reardon is played by Tasha Sims. 60 credits for her, including a Christopher Nolan movie, Insomnia. They ask if she was adopted, and she starts getting annoyed with the questions because they are kind of out there. But it soon becomes clear that she used in vitro fertilization, and she ends up giving the name of the clinic she used. Mulder decides to keep an eye on the kid to make sure she isn't abducted or kidnapped. depending on how you want to look at it. Potato, potato, as Mulder would say. Meanwhile, Scully is going to go check out the clinic. Scully talks to Dr. Kotz, played by George Talados, 92 credits for him, including Double Jeopardy, The Sister of the Traveling Pants, and he has another appearance in this series in Season 2 as a totally different character. He is initially reluctant to divulge the info that Scully is looking for, patient confidentiality and all, but she points out that people are dead and or missing, and that might supersede privacy concerns. While reviewing the documents, Scully realizes that the patients both had the same doctor involved, named Dr. Sally Kendrick, who Dr. Katz describes as nothing but a problem. And she's played by Harriet Sampson Harris, 94 credits for her, including Licorice Pizza, Jules, and Frasier. And apparently, when Harriet Sampson Harris guest starred on Frasier, she played a character who makes herself sick by ingesting digitalis, the poison of choice, for Eve 6 in this episode, and the kids for that matter. Dr. Katz says that they were initially excited to get Dr. Kendrick, but she was experimenting with eugenics and was fired. She was censored, but the request for an investigation into her was denied. Scully now thinks this is the murderer, and that she has an accomplice, which she reveals to him while talking to him at his hotel room. A phone call causes Mulder to suspiciously kick Scully out of his room. She jokingly suggests he might have a girl coming over. But Mulder says, "What's a girl?" And this might play as a joke, but coming from him, I'm not totally sure that it is. If it's not a gray reticulin, I don't think Mulder knows what it is. As it turns out, the forbidden romance is Deep Throat himself. This is his second appearance in as many episodes. He's casually in town, casually wondering if he ever told Mulder about the Litchfield experiments, which just happens to pertain to his case. And this is according to the X-Files wiki. We get this information sprinkled throughout the episode, but I'm just going to lay it out there for you right now. The Litchfield experiment was a highly classified secret project conducted by the U.S. at the height of the Cold War to counteract the research done by the Russians. The idea was to create the perfect soldier by crossbreeding top scientists and athletes. The boys were called Adam and the girls were called Eve. How original. Eve 6, played by a.k.a. Sally Kendrick, explains that while an average human being has 46 chromosomes, Eve and Adam's have 56. Number 4, 5, 12, 16, and 22 were replicated, which produced additional genes. Heightened strength, heightened intelligence, and many more. Due to these alterations, the subjects were prone to psychotic and homicidal behavior, even suicide. Well, that doesn't sound too good, now does it? Internet Movie Database states that Deep Throat names for the first time the super soldiers, although he refers to them as superior soldiers. The context is very different of the way they are seen in the last seasons, but it is stated that the Russians tried to create them. Deep Throat gets Mulder and Scully into the Whiting Institute for the Criminally Insane to talk to a woman he thinks they should see. They end up talking to Eve 6, a woman who's chained up and quite insane and dangerous. Her way of showing affection is biting into a guard's eye. And yeah, you know what? I'm okay if you don't like me. That's perfectly fine if that's going to be your way of showing me affection. Of course, she looks very similar to Sally Kendrick. On her wall is a picture of a bunch of E's, which looks like Tina and Cindy. We see Cindy praying with her mom just before going to bed, and then Mulder and Scully are staking out Cindy's house. Mulder believes that Sally's accomplice was herself, basically a clone of herself. Cindy looks out her window, seemingly looks directly at them from her bedroom window. They see her get snatched. Mulder goes through the back, trying to stop this abduction from happening. Scully goes through the front. She ends up getting taken out way too easily, I might add. Knocked unconscious, again, way too easily. Mulder manages to catch the assailant, who Mulder thinks is Eve 7 or 8, but I'm pretty sure this is the original Sally. She threatens the girl with a gun and manages to get away from Mulder. Scully sends a description out in hopes of someone eventually ending up spotting her somewhere, and of course gives her the car that she was driving. Sally takes Cindy to a house in San Francisco, where she meets Tina, and Tina smirks but otherwise looks extremely unsurprised by this development. An officer informs Scully that her car, Sally's specifically, was spotted at an airport, But a hotel manager, according to Mulder, actually spotted the girls, and the girl gave a very scientific explanation for what he should use in the pool along with the chlorine, which makes him think that it was actually the same person. Sally tells the girls that the Eves don't become psychotic until their 20s, but these two seem to have an accelerated development, which is not good news. Sally asked them how they knew each other, how they knew of each other's existences, and they respond that they just knew. She asks why they killed their fathers, and they say it's because they weren't really their fathers. They have no parents. They were created. Sally tries to convince them to do better, but she starts to convulse as the girls smile. The girls poisoned her with digitalis, and now she's gonna die. The agents catch up to the girls at the hotel room and find Sally dead. Mulder mistakes her for Eve 8, the one on the floor as Eve 8, when I once again think that this was Sally herself. The girls claim that Eve 8 tries to poison her, but they didn't drink. And they are playing the innocent little girl act that we know they are not. Mulder and Scully take responsibility for the girls and offer to take them back. Scully points out that the poison probably tastes very sweet. Cindy asks what's going to happen to Tina, and Mulder says they'll discuss it in the car, and to my knowledge, that conversation does not happen. But Scully thinks they are already too attached to each other, and it's going to be hard once they have to separate. During the long drive home, the girls say they need a bathroom break. Scully says that she needs some caffeine, so they stop at a diner. They order the sodas and go to the bathroom. One of the girls sneaks out of the bathroom as the agents are in the bathroom and poison the agent's soda. As they leave, Mulder realizes he left his keys inside the restaurant. He goes back inside and spots a green substance on the table. And of course, this makes him realize exactly what's going on. Mulder exits and yells for Scully, and then pretends he just wanted to open the door for Scully, and he ends up getting this really hilarious look from Scully, like, what's wrong with you? And he ends up knocking the soda out of Scully's hands. He quietly tells Scully that the drinks are poisoned and to get the girls in the car, but the girls know exactly what's going on, and they take off for a run. Alright, so this entire sequence, by the way, is what I remember most about this episode. Dating back to when I was a kid, I thought this scene was very funny, this entire sequence. And I remember actually writing about this particular part in my journal at the time. Mulder catches up to them. The girls scream, drawing the attention of a truck driver and his wife nearby, who believe the girls and are very sarcastic with Mulder, suggesting, "Oh, are these the America's Most Wanted?" And they aren't yet, but they certainly have potential based on their behavior in this episode. The girls once again get away, and Scully flashes her badge at the driver, and the driver realizes his mistake. The agents trick the girls into thinking they left in search of them by driving away, and once they think that Mulder and Scully are gone, they get out of a boat that they were hiding under, basically under a tarp, and Mulder grabs them, and they claim to be innocent little girls who did nothing wrong, and Mulder says that is the last thing that they are. The agents talk to Mrs. Reardon, who says she doesn't care to know what's going on with Cindy. All she needs to know is that Cindy wasn't really her daughter, and never was. She rips a picture in half. This is one half of a picture that includes her husband and her daughter, and throws the part that is her daughter into the fire. And wow. Okay, so this kind of reminds me of how season 11 concluded, with Scully just deciding that she doesn't care about the person that was all she cared about for 2 seasons, which was her son, because he was an experiment. Yeah, I get that Cindy was an experiment, but that doesn't change the fact that you raised her for 8 years, that you cared and loved her for 8 years. And yeah, I guess she's responsible for killing your husband, but still, this is a very curious attitude. I just don't buy it. But anyway, the girls are now in the same facility as Eve 6, and in comes a person impersonating Sally, but this is Eve 8. The girls say hello to her by name. Eve asks how they knew she would come for them. And they both say, one after the other, that they just knew. And it's all very creepy. And that is where the episode ends. Yeah, like I said, pretty solid episode. One of my early favorites of this series. I remember enjoying it quite a bit as a child, and it still holds up pretty well. Anyway, that's all I got for you for this video. If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join one of my Core Productions Facebook pages. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a copy. You can join the Core Productions membership for 99 cents a month. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribing to my channel. And of course, hitting that bell so you get notified when new content drops. This is Dave from Core Productions, signing off.